Hi, this is Dr. Katina, and for this tutorial, we're going to be going over outcome measures and gleaning those from your paper. For those of you who've just joined us, this is the paper that I have read and am using for this tutorial. The takeaway message here is that we are interested in functional outcomes only. Even if your paper describes its primary outcome, for example, in mine, it says cardiopulmonary exercise testing. That's not a functional outcome measure. For example, in my paper, it looks like here, even in the abstract, they're saying that they measured cardiopulmonary exercise testing and 6-minute walk test were performed before and after training. So it seems like the primary and secondary were the cardiopulmonary and then the 6-minute walk test. But for us, the cardiopulmonary exercise and cardiovascular fitness is not a functional outcome measure. The 6-minute walk test would be our primary functional outcome measure that we are interested in. Going through here, they also measure adherence, which we are interested in. That's listed further down on the page. But all these other outcomes, for example, power, heart rate, resting heart rate, aerobic capacity, those are not functional outcomes. So for us, the first functional outcome measure that we are interested in is the 6-minute walk test. So you would choose from the list, as I did, 6-minute walk test, and that would be the primary functional outcome measure for this paper, for example. If your outcome, for example, was not on this list, and it was the first functional outcome measure that you saw listed, you could choose other, and an other will come up and you could place it there. But for us, this paper, it's a 6-minute walk test. I apologize, it jumps down when I'm filling these out. So was there a secondary functional outcome measure reported? For their primary, secondary, and all the outcome measure, or the outcome measures they reported here, it sort of ended there. So I said not specified here and not specified. If they listed more functional outcome measures, you could put them as your secondary and your third here, but they didn't here. You still would ignore the rest of this stuff. So then if they listed another outcome measure here, like a falls efficacy, you could put that as your secondary. If they listed SF36 as another outcome, you could put that as your third. And then if they listed ones beyond that, you could put them here in additional outcome measures. So let's say, we didn't have falls efficacy scale. You can choose that here. This will let you pick more than one, and it will just list them here. In terms of, also you could do it this way. If there were other functional outcome measures that, were not on our list, you could put them here. So let's say, for example, we didn't have timed up and go on our list, but it was listed as a functional outcome measure in your paper. It's called the tug. You could put here tug. And then if there was additional ones, you could just hit the plus sign and you can list them that way. If there were any other outcomes that were not functional, but they listed and they went over, you could include them here. Mine did go over aerobic capacity. They did go over heart rate, and you could also click other and list some here with a comma. You could say, resting heart rate, comma. I think there's an FiO2 that a lot of these measure. You could list them there, but that's as far as we would go with them. Okay. So, and that's fine. If the study assessed any implementation outcomes, so don't forget that I call it tab 13, but it's really just the last tab. It's this help and definitions tab. That is a tab to help explain and give reference to some of these terms that you may not be familiar with. And this pop-up hover demonstrates some examples. This paper does not mention any of these that are listed. So I don't think there's an option on this to say not specified. So I would just leave it blank. they weren't listed here. For the next one, in terms of patient satisfaction and adherence or usability, they do mention adherence and they do measure that as an outcome. So I would say yes, they do. There's other measures in terms of patient satisfaction and usability. They don't list those though. So that would end there. I hope that makes sense. If you have any questions at all, please email me at katinak@duq.edu, and I would be happy to email you back and help you with that portion. So I'm going to hit save here, and I will see you on the next tutorial.